is celebrating 60th anniversary of the evolution of public relations in Nigeria. How far has PR practitioner gone in elevating, in connecting stakeholders and engendering a new vista for growth, for business development, and for national development? Today I have with me Bimbo Alagbe. Bimbo Alagbe is a former member of council of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. He is also a former chapter chairman in Ogun State. Bimbo, you're welcome.
My pleasure being here again today.
It's my pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
On this set. And I also have an horticulturist. I have Mr. Sawyer Falemu. Mr. Sawyer Falemu is the national president of Landscape Horticulturist Association of Nigeria. He's also a man who has been involved in the issue of conservation, cultural values as far as horticulture is concerned. He's a man of many parts, but today he will be with us, giving us inputs on the values of tree planting and horticulture. Mr. Falemu, you're welcome.
It's a pleasure. Welcome, sir.
It's a pleasure having you. Bimbo, this is another pulsating and momentous event for the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. We are talking of the new program, the new project that is coming up in June. But before we go into that, how has NIPR evolved over time?
Well, thank you for that question. Even though we can spend the whole day looking at the evolution of public relations in Nigeria, where do I start from? From 1963, when as Public Relations Association, Nigeria registered itself in the Committee of Nations, giving recognition to public relations, as a field of practice, and that went on until 1990, when a decree was signed by the then former president, military president of Nigeria, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, making Nigeria the foremost, the first then nation to recognize the import and the practice of public relations in Nigeria, and recognizing it as a management function through which the nation can be better recognized in the Committee of Nations, giving the required and necessary recognition to the practice of public relations. And then down the line, for us to get to marking the 60th, anniversary of that, of the practice of public relations in Nigeria. Even though Nigeria is the first and one of the fourth, leading nations across the world, giving the public relations practice the required impetus, to be recognized as a field of practice and contributing its quota into the running of the nation, projecting the virtues, projecting the culture, projecting the people of Nigeria as they should be projected. So when we are looking at that, the evolution of public relations in Nigeria, you will see that it dates back to, let's start in 1963 up till 2023, when we can say yes, we have come of age, 60 years as an institution, or as an institute, so to speak, and different contributions of different leaders, different people, from then up till now.
Well, thank you so much. We can't but mention some of the leaders that have given a pivotal role of public relations in Nigeria. Probably you want to start from some of the, maybe let me lead you, Sam Epele, the role he played, and some other people in getting to this pedestal. What have been the hallmark?
Even when you look at, Sam Epele that you just mentioned is one of the icons of the practice in Nigeria. You're looking at the presidents, people who have led, the institute, and who have contributed their own quota. While some are alive now, some have gone. And as we mentioned, the people who are presidents, who are icons, we must also look at people at some point in time who have been registrars, even if they are not chief executive officers of the institute, who have contributed their quota. And that is leading, I mean, if we want to begin to chronicle, the different leadership up until when we have Mr. Neliaku, the president, Ike Neliaku, who is the current president of the institute. I mean, everyone successive leadership has been building on the success of the previous and bringing new, newness into leadership. So at the just concluded PR week, we even still had a couple of them who are still alive, people who have, practiced and are well above 70, 80, coming around to be part of the PR week, which was incidentally held by Ogun State as the very first ever, PR week that will ever hold in Nigeria. So many of them have come, and the time here will not allow us to begin to chronicle, mentioning their names. But it is good that we have Sam Epele, who was who has been institutionalized with a lecture.
Sam Epele, we have Bob Michael Kereke. We had,
and some of them are still.
We had Chief Jibado Oyeko.
Yeah, who was also a past president.
We had this Bobo Sofri Brown
from River State.
We had
Oyeko from Oyo.
Oladele.
Yeah.
Professor Ikechukwu Nwosu.
Yeah.
And then we have
now. And then we have Dr. Ladele. Yes.
So, not mentioning Mukhtar Sirajo,
who just left.
And then we have Dr.
Neliaku. Yeah.
When you look at the current tempo, how will you place public relations in the Committee of Relations?
Well, I must say that the institute and the practitioners have not done very badly at all. Now, when you look at the fact that even in the scheme of service now, public relations has been duly recognized as a cadre, a management cadre in the civil service. That's by no means, a great feat. These are things that have been pushed and advocated over the years, dating back to some 20-25 years. I know quite well that, these were some of the things that you also pushed while you were, a member of council, and while you also were leading the chapter in Ogun State, asking for the due recognition of the public relations practice as a management function. And we want to thank, goodness and thank God also that in our own lifetime, this is coming to be. And we cannot, looking at that, public relations has proven itself. It's not just something that was taken, though not on the platter of gold, but at the same time, it has proven itself, practitioners have proven themselves as, worthwhile practitioners, to the extent that it's not only in states, but even at the federal level, there is a gazette saying that public relation practitioners are managers, and they've been duly recognized as managers, information managers.
You are one of the 15,800 members of the institute, and also we also have 8,600 student members. Yeah. How do you feel celebrating 60th anniversary?
Well, great, because number one is that this is going to even call attention to the practice. In the Yoruba parlance, if there is a deity that's not introduced, to the coming ones, the younger ones, that deity will just frizzle into oblivion.
I also want to mention the activities that are coming up.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that opportunity. I'm saying that even during the last PR week, we had, new people who are just, youths who are coming in freshly into the institute. The student members who are inducted right here in Ogun State. We have quite a number of them across, Nigeria.
6,600.
6,600, yeah. 8,600, pardon me. 8,600 of them who are just coming in. I mean, that's not a very small figure when you look at it. When you look at that's coming like a little above 10%, going to about 15%, little below the 20% of the current practitioners of registered practitioners, from associate to the fellowship, who have just been brought into the practice of the profession. So that's gladdening, knowing fully well that even when some of us who are current practitioners are passed on, there are other people who can take on this for us. And when we look at the contribution of the practitioners into governance, our contribution into leadership of the nation, our contribution into governance in the state, and even in the private sector, in the organized private sector, you will find out that the future speaks, of sustainability, of better management. When we look at the fact that young, virile, and more agile people are coming into the profession.
Thank you very much, Mr. Falemu.
Yes, sir.
The NFF will be having some activities, and major. The first course is tree planting in Nigeria, all over the states.
On June the 1st.
On June 1st. And can you give us a little bit of a history of all the evolution of tree planting in the world, and how beneficial is tree planting to a nation?
Thank you very much, sir. To look at it, tree itself, started from the Garden of Eden. When God created the Garden of Eden, He planted trees. So by extension, we could say that even God Himself is the first gardener. And going by it, it is without any, God considered the importance of tree. That is why He located His first creations, Eve and Adam, in the Garden of Eden. So there are several things that we could derive from the act of tree planting. For instance, tree itself, service the three basic of a man's needs. That's shelter, food, and clothing. And aside that, I think the first department of forestry was established in Nigeria in 1906 in all the protectorates. And over the years, I know as Nigerian government began to realize the essence of a tree planting. That's why in the era of the military, some days were, they are marked for tree planting days. And in those days, it's always a very eventful, activity. So
what are the economic and social benefits of tree planting?
There are several benefits derivable. For instance, it tree purifies the air.
Yeah.
That's it absorbs the oxygen. Not only that, releases oxygen and taking carbon dioxide. Aside that, it controls erosion, climatic amelioration, and several other things like that. If we could observe vividly in the past few years now, we will see that the rate of flooding, particularly in Abeokuta, where we are now, is becoming so serious. And the reason being that there are several trees that have been cut away. Let's imagine the train, whatever, the railway, Lagos Ibadan, that was constructed. We can imagine how many thousands of trees that were felled. And those trees, they have, apart from the fact that they control erosion, they serve even as habitats to several species, which in most cases, if you are not careful, they might become extincted over time. And the word extinction comes in because there is tendency that those things could vanish from us. And not only that, even biblically it was explained that when God created everything, he rested on the seventh day. Ever since God rested, God has not created any other thing. So what we have, if you don't conserve them, there is every tendency that you might, forfeit them. And funny enough, there are a lot of medicine that are yet to be, discovered from some of these trees. So apart from beautification, it serves some biological, some climatic, and even medicinal purposes.
And even social benefits.
Social benefits.
Well, thank you so much. Bimbo, the NIPR Green Legacy Parks.
Yes.
What do you understand by that?
Well, the Green Legacy Parks is to call the attention of everybody in Nigeria to the importance of tree planting. In addition to what Mr. Falimu just said, natural cooling is also part of the things that trees provide. And he's just pointed to the fact that quite a number of trees were felled for developmental purposes, to bring in social amenities without getting another one in place. So the Green Legacy parks is to call attention to tree planting, to underscore the importance, which he has just mentioned, and quite a number of it. Let's look at even the biodiversity and quite a number of other benefits. The NIPR is calling the attention of the whole nation back to this, that where one is cut, probably 10 should be planted in return. And if you look at that, the NIPR is using its clout to liaise with stakeholders within the states and our sphere of influence to get places where we can have trees planted, symbolically, minimum of 60 to symbolize the year that is being celebrated. 60 trees will be planted in those parks all over the nation. And let's look at what is happening here in Abeokuta in Ogun State, and what is happening, symbolically with the National Secretariat of the NIPR. Here in Ogun State, a place is being secured, and gratefully enough, at the Moshood Abiola Polytechnic here in Abeokuta, a park, a space has been given to us that is going to serve this purpose.
As the Green Legacy Park?
As the Green Legacy Park. To be where 60 trees will be planted by several dignitaries, both practitioners and people, including the governor and several dignitaries in the state, who will join us at the Green Legacy Park at the Moshood Abiola Polytechnic here in Abeokuta on the 1st. Now, this is expected to be either be kick-started, by the governor, signifying the beginning of this, because we are going to also have a walk on that day. And the work is to call the attention of everybody to the importance of tree planting. We are still returning back to the natural, way of things, to do what we have undone in the past, to have the possibility of redressing or redoing them, to plant trees back to replace those ones that have been felled. And we would be having so many other people to join us.
Who are the stakeholders that are expected?
Oh, so many corporate organizations are joining us. The people in the professional, the students are joining us. People in the journalism practice, will be joining us, and several people like that. People in politics will be joining us, so that all of us, and practitioners of public relations, we will take that work here in Abeokuta, and then that work will end, will climax at the Moshood Abiola. We will start from our secretariat at Okelewo, the NIPR secretariat in Okelewo, and then we'll go towards Ibara, like that, as we journey towards Moshood Abiola Polytechnic. And then when we get to Moshood Abiola Polytechnic, we will be having the planting of those trees. There, the governor, the head of service, the speaker, and so many other people who are dignitaries here in the state will be joining us. However, at the national level also, that will be happening in Minna. And the reason for Minna and not Abuja is the fact that the council, the president and the council of the government council of the NIPR will be honoring the president who signed, the decree into law, making the very first significant move across the world in recognizing public relations practice as a management function.
So thank you very much. Of course, perhaps this is where we can go. This is where we have to stop on this historic celebration of public relations excellence in Nigeria. 60 years.
60 years.
And it's going to be iconic. Mr. Falemu,
yes, sir.
We want to thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next week, we will continue. By next week, we will have to analyze how the activities will now come up on stage, who and who will be involved, and probably also give us some lessons on how we can expand on tree planting, how we can conserve nature and our environment. Bimbo, I also want to thank you. It is work in progress. Please connect with all necessary stakeholders. It promises to be a very iconic event. All are going to be mobilized to ensure that we have a very historic moment for the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. So this is where we're going to stop today. Until next week, when we continue with this topic, 60 years of Diamond celebration of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Until that time, I'm Akin Okudelo. Please join us, and I say bye for now.